I have the letter that Donald Trump sent to the Prime Minister of Norway, and I want to walk you through the several psychological indicators of malignant narcissism that appear in just this one short letter and why it's so dangerous. So this is a forensic analysis of the observable language and behavior that we see in this letter. It's the same way that a physician or a forensic psychiatrist would analyze written material when they can't do like a direct examination. It obviously isn't possible. I cannot examine or cross-examine Donald Trump, so we're gonna have to use this letter instead. But it's quite revealing. Clinically speaking, this whole letter reads less like a diplomatic document and more like a wounded ego attempting to reassert dominance. It's that kind of strongman attitude that he's always had. So I'm just going to go straight into this. The first point that I'll make is a point of grandiosity. So here's the line in the document. I have done more for NATO than any other person since its founding. So in medicine, just like I said, we would call this grandiosity. And grandiosity is an inflated sense of one's importance or achievements that are disproportionate to reality. It's a classic indicator of malignant narcissism. Importantly, grandiosity is what's called egosyntonic, or the person who experiences it or exhibits it, they don't question it. They believe it to be right and true, so they cannot be convinced that what they're doing, what they say, is wrong. They truly believe, morally, ethically, what they say and what they're doing is correct, is right. Very dangerous. In fact, the real danger here is that institutions stop being institutions and rather they become an extension of self. In this example, because he is the president of the United States, then all the policies and all the institutions that he heads are extensions of Trump. And you can see that in the examples of his entire life, his golf courses, his name on everything. All of those things are extensions of self. Classic grandiosity. Any disagreement or disparagement of Trump or his policies to him feels like a betrayal, and reality then becomes subjective. There's no longer objective reality, not when this dynamic is occurring. Okay, the next point, let's talk about narcissistic injury. Here's the quote, opening line. Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace. Textbook. This is textbook example of narcissistic injury. A narcissistic injury occurs when a person whose self-esteem depends on the admiration of others. So again, here we are back to any perceived humiliation or slight. It's a full-on injury to their ego, and their ego is kind of all of who they are. But what follows from that, kind of in the real world, like, regular people world, anger could be something like withdrawal of goodwill, commonly retaliation. But we can see what happens here in this example. It's not a personal example in the real world. This is a president of a country going after whatever, XYZ thing. It doesn't matter all the things that he goes after. But in this example, peace, just the general idea of peace becomes conditional. You'll have peace based on my conditions. Ethics become transactional. I'll act ethical as Trump, he thinks. I'll act in an ethical way. I'll do the ethical thing, the moral thing, if you give me what I want in return. In the real world, amongst a regular relationship, that can manifest itself commonly with love, where love is either offered or withheld in a transactional way. But again, we're talking about a president of the United States, the president of a country, and it becomes much more dangerous. In medicine, this is called conditional morality. this moral restraint that exists only when the ego is being rewarded. So they can be moral or seem ethical when their ego is fed. And this trait is extremely dangerous in a person with unilateral power. More examples just from this one letter. Next quote. Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China. This is an example of what's called externalization. It's a defense mechanism where responsibility for one's own aggressive impulses is shifted to outside things, outside forces. Externalization. In other words, aggression is reframed as protection. So I'm not being aggressive. I'm trying to protect everybody from China and Russia, right? I'm not being aggressive towards Denmark or aggressive towards Greenland. I'm protecting everybody from China and Russia. You can't protect yourself. We have to protect you. And politically, this is how coercion gets laundered into kind of this idea of security. And so many of us, unfortunately, MAGA especially, they fall for the idea of we need it for national security. We need Greenland for national security. And people fall for it. They fall for it.
It's a tried and true method.
A tried and true method that Republicans have been using for decades and decades and decades. How far back can we go for that? Past Nixon.
People have been using it as long as politics have existed.
Yeah,
honestly.
That's a better way to say it. Let's move along to the next example here. This is the, example number 4. Again, we're still in just this one letter. All these examples of malignant narcissism and the behaviors that manifest in this. This is a funny one. This idea of the right of ownership. You know, he's asking, why does Denmark have the right of ownership anyway? There are no written documents. It's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago. But we had boats landing there also. It's just, number one, it's ridiculous. I'm sorry. It is ridiculous. But
it's
medically
really
speaking, it's just ridiculous. But medically speaking, in this example, this reflects what's called concrete thinking, or he has a difficulty in engaging with abstraction. So like international law, as an example, treaties, these are abstract ideas that happened or has been happening, for hundreds of years. And he reduces all that has happened with Greenland and how it became a country and how it became under the control of Denmark. He reduces all that down to boats landing, and it ignores all the other abstract ideas that make Greenland Greenland. He ignores all of that. So, it's that reductive, it's just boats landing. That's as much of a thought as he can give to it.
At one point, boats did land. So I guess I can give him that much.
It's just insane though. It's just absolutely insane. So look,
it really is.
It's not how a stable leader would reason through decision making. It's just not. Another example, it's actually the last line. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. This is what you might call omnipotent control fantasy. It's this belief that absolute control is required for safety. And it's paired with binary thinking. So it's either total control or total chaos. There's no concept of some kind of a diplomatic middle ground or some sort of a negotiation. Compromise is weakness. Escalation with a person like Trump, especially with what the EU is doing in backing Denmark and Greenland now, escalation becomes inevitable. One more point, last point in this letter, emotional arc of the entire letter, okay? Just the general emotional arc. First, opens with a personal grievance, right? It's nothing about the United States. Then it's this withdrawal of moral restraint. Third, a justification of aggression. And then lastly, a demand for control. And This pattern is what we would call emotional reasoning. It's when feelings are treated as evidence.
Facts over feelings.
Facts over feelings, that kind of thing. Yet in this example, just again, with just this one letter, and there's hundreds, thousands of examples. Again, we're just on this one letter.
Yeah.
He's using emotional reasoning in here. You know, there isn't any good logical explanation or argument for why Greenland being in control by the United States would be appropriate. It's just his own emotional thing. So again, emotional reasoning rather than critical logical thinking, classic behaviors of a malignant narcissist. So look, I'll close it out with this, okay? This letter shows us how Donald Trump processes insults, how he processes power, how he processes control. This is not the only example that we've seen. We've all seen this example for this last year, and really ever since he's been in the public eye his entire life. It's ego-driven, it's emotionally reactive, and it's detached from any institutional reality or institutional norm or decorum that I used to think that we held in high regard. The combination of all of these things lowers the threshold for escalation, and it destabilizes alliances. Obviously, we already can see that. There's no strategy now. It's just grievance right here in black and white. It's crazy. So again, it is about politics, but this analysis isn't about politics. I'll just ask this question, and I don't even know that it can be answered or not, but is it okay that someone that exhibits patterns of behavior like this, like pathological malignant narcissism, should they ever be trusted with unilateral power again? Trump thinks that he's just going to bully and strongman his way into getting what he wants, right? Again, this is another example. But I know that there are a lot of smart people out there, like the EU leaders, and, there's a lot of smart people out there who are onto him, including our viewers. So I'll close this video out. That's our brief analysis of this unhinged, deranged, insane Trump letter. We appreciate everybody watching. Please subscribe if you are not a subscriber. We value you more than you know. Also, thank you to our new members. We are on Patreon and Discord. Please go look for us there. And you can find me on Blue Sky. Max, where can they find you?
Twitter and TikTok primarily.
Excellent. Please go look for us there. We will see you next time for...
What's coming next, a little, almost like a Marvel end credit scene teaser, Trump's entire plan with Greenland, kind of breaking down what's actually the political fallout of a decision like this that he seems to be making. To hopefully kind of almost predict the future a little bit and give everybody who watches it some answers.
That's a good teaser. Okay, until that video, we'll see you next time.
See ya.